Michael Stetz with the Fight Nerd. I'm here at Bellator 74 post-fight with Bellator CEO Bjorn Rebney. Bjorn, how would you say the card went tonight?
I thought it went really well. I thought it was a really evenly matched card going into it. I think a lot of people were kind of looking past it and asking us, what about Spike? Where's Paul Semtex Daly? Where's Lima? Where's all these different guys? But I thought the guys put on a great show. I mean, I thought it was 4 really entertaining fights back to back. I thought we got to see the Zarumskas that I had really kind of fallen for when he was in Japan. I think Koreshkov showed us that he can really elevate his game, and that when pushed into deep water, he can stay in the fight, and he can ultimately win a fight, close it out. Zarev looked really dangerous on the ground, which I anticipated, but he looked really good on the ground, and he also complemented with stuff. Lyman Good looked really good. I liked it. I thought it was a heck of a show, and I think some of the guys that won tonight are ultimately going to do some pretty good things in Bellator.
And how quickly did you prepare for, like, when the fights are over to match up the semifinals? Because you did pretty fast tonight. You announced it right away.
Sam and I and literally in the team just got together immediately afterward and just put the fights together right away. I mean, it was in terms of where we had it set up initially, you really just loaded it up 1 through 4, and it was pretty easy to put them together.
And you said recently Russia is the new Brazil.
Yeah.
With an influx of Russian talent in Bellator, and of course you've gotten World Combat Sambo guys already. The partnership with R2 Channel in Russia. Talk about the influx of Russian talent.
Well, the Russia 2 deal is the biggest international television deal we've ever done. It's literally the ESPN of Russia, and the depth of the relationship, the term, the length of the relationship, the commitment that they've made to us is enormous. And it's really, it's a big network. I mean, they carry the World Cup, they carry Formula One, they carry the Olympics in Russia. I mean, they're really kind of the ESPN of Russia, if you will. And so it's big, and we made the commitment back to them to bring over some hugely talented Russian fighters. So, I mean, now you're going to see, I think, as many Russians in Bellator as you see Brazilians. And man, you saw it tonight with Zarev and Koreshkov. They're very exciting guys to watch.
And when you lay out the fights for this season 7 in particular, you do announce the fighters on the cards without opponents.
Right.
So how challenging is that? It's different from a lot of promotions.
Sure.
They'll say that, Bellator 78, it's going to be Zola Gurgel, it's going to be, Paul Daly at this one.
Right.
Is it tough to get it together and to promote it without the opponent?
It's a different dynamic because, for example, for the show that we've got coming up in Dayton, we were able to announce Zoila's on the show, so you get a lot of local market support, but you don't know who's going to be on the semifinals until tonight. And then literally we've got our creative team sitting at the offices in Newport Beach, 4 people, banging out poster, creative, getting everything done, so you can go right off of the Zoila pitch to the Zoila pitch plus these 2 big semifinal fights. So it changes the dynamic, but we've always got, our ad campaigns start typically 60 days out. So you start the ad campaign, Bellator's coming, moving to Spike, blah, blah, blah. You push Zoila, and then ultimately 30 days out, you add those 2 semifinal fights. It's a different dynamic than the one that most promotions are used to, where they just get to choose who fights and they can put the shows together whenever they want to. But you roll with the punches and you adapt to it, and it's working for us.
And obviously looming, and I've gotten tons of questions. Spike 2013. Are you kind of feeling like you're losing steam going to the finish line? You just want to get to Spike. How do you stay on point here? I know a lot of fights are going to, I said at the presser before, Amiso and Askren's going to be on Spike. So,
right.
The biggest fight obviously would be
Pitbull Alvarez.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, thanks. Sure.
I'm thinking about
that one as well.
So that's in 76. Right?
Yeah, I mean that one's in a couple weeks. 2 weeks from tonight at Windsor. But yeah, I mean I think what you do is you rely. I'm a little bit eternally optimistic. So you look at it at a show like tonight. A lot of people are asking, where's Paul Semtex Daly and where's Lima and where's all the guys, where's all the big guns in this division? And then you get performances like that, and you just anticipate that these guys are going to move forward and become the next Kern and the next Chandler. Who knew about Chandler when he fought Marcin Held in front of a tiny crowd in the middle of nowhere? And almost got his leg torn off early by Marcin, who's literally the Aoki of Poland, and then pulled through it, and then ultimately went through that tournament, beating Pitbull and beating Lloyd Cupcake Woodard, and then beat Alvarez in the fight of the year. So you hope. I always and kind of enthusiastically hope against hope that these guys are going to do the same kind of thing. And you've got to keep fueling the machine. You've got to keep, in our dynamic, you've got to keep developing the next guy. So I think we're going to come out of this season. I think we're going to have a freak or two at 70. I think you're going to see crazy stuff in the other divisions. I think, knock on wood, Santos is able to make weight at 265. And next week, from a heavyweight perspective, maybe we see something crazy out of Volkov, the 6'8" striker out of Russia, as he goes up against Brett Rogers. I mean, I'm excited about it. I don't feel like it's losing steam, and I feel like we're constantly evolving, and as we constantly evolve, you've got to keep polishing and you've got to keep getting ready. Spike's obviously an enormous launch for us, but there's still work to be done before we get there. So,
And the heavyweight division, and you just alluded to, I would say that's got to be the toughest to find talent for, as opposed to your lighter divisions.
Sure.
Cole Conrad says goodbye. So now, is it going to be the winner of the tournament will be the crowned new champ?
Sam and I have still got to decide that. Really one of two options. Either the winner of the tournament is crowned champion, and or the winner of the tournament really establishes his spot to fight the winner of the next tournament as we roll into Spike for that world title. We haven't really made that determination yet. It's still unknown. I mean, there's some really talented heavyweights that Sam and Zach and the team have recruited, some of whom won't be fighting literally in this tournament coming up next week. So heavyweights it's not an easy division to fill with a lot of talent. I mean, you can see it at the UFC. There's 4 or 5 guys that are at very high level, and then there's a pretty substantial drop-off. We've got a couple of guys that we're real excited about. We've got one guy in the mix, Minikov from Russia. A little bit small for a heavyweight, probably at about 240, 245, but very reminiscent of an earlier Fedor. Unbelievable sambo, great hips, incredible striking. If you want to check him out online, he just knocked out Eddie Sanchez. And obviously Eddie is not at the pinnacle of his career at this point, but still a very tough customer at 265. So, you just build it. You rely on a guy like Sam Kaplan, our VP of Talent Development, to do for us at 265 what he's done for us at 55, what he's done for us at 70 and 85, and now what he's doing at 205 with the influx of King Mo and Babalu and a lot of rock stars in that division. So I'm comfortable we'll get there. It's just going to take some time.
And as you just mentioned, you have Babalu now, you have King Mo, you have Daly.
Yeah.
So you've been getting some big name talent, even though you may be losing an Eddie Alvarez. Have you kind of resigned to the fact that he's probably going to be gone, like a Hector Lombard?
I don't know. I think a lot of it depends on what happens with Ed in this fight. I think a lot of people have looked past the Pitbull fight. Stylistically, Patricky Pitbull versus Eddie Alvarez was a fight that I have wanted to see for literally 2.5 years. Since the first time I saw Patricky Pitbull get into our cage against Razor Rob McCullough, overcome the early troubles that he faced against Razor, who was looking like the best Razor I'd seen in 3 years in the beginning stages of that fight, and then put those punches together and knock out Razor Rob, and then knock out Toby Amata and look the way he did. The Kurt Pellegrino knockout, I mean, he's just put great, crazy knockout after knockout together. I think this is a very tough fight for Ed. It's a very tough fight, and it's one Ed is embracing. So it'll really depend on what happens in this fight, and then we'll see where it goes from there. And if he moves on, I'm sure he'll do remarkably well in the UFC. And if he doesn't move on, he stays with us. He'll have his hands full with the Rick Hahns, the Mike Chandlers, the Patricky Pitbulls, and the Lloyd Woodards, and a lot of rock stars we've got coming in at 55.
And this will kind of ties into my next question, in that you can have a right to match an offer when someone leaves the organization. I think I know I'm going with this with regards to Dantes, and Tyson Nam and the contract dispute. Dana White had some harsh comments towards you. First time ever, really, that he's spoken badly about you.
Right.
What was your reply to that? And was it, how tough is it for you as a promotion head to deal with a loss, even though it's not in your promotion? Still could be a black eye. Dantes is your bantamweight champ.
Right.
Just dethroned Zach Mikowski. He loses in pretty highlight fashion, big KO. So
yeah.
Those two things.
That's the most difficult part about it. The most difficult part about the whole circumstance is Dantes. We literally were asked by Dantes' coach out at Novignon if he could do a charity fight with Dantes, and they asked our talent development team for names for the fight, and we actually came up with Tyson Nam as a name we suggested. So if anyone's guilty of anything on that front, it's us, and that's the most depressing thing about it, is seeing what happened to Dantes in that fight. He is our existing champion. We thought, that Sam came to me and, hey, Tyson's been sitting on the sidelines. He's a kid I'd like to give an opportunity to. It's a big opportunity, and I think he's perfect for Dantes. What do you think? I was like, great, if you want to give it to him, give it to him. So The toughest thing about that whole circumstance was just seeing Dantas lose and lose the way he did, because he was on such an upward trend, breaking into the top 10 on a lot of people's lists. A lot of people talking about him before that fight in really glowing fashion in terms of where he fit into the mix at 35 worldwide. So, that's what depressed me about the whole thing. The matching rights issue is one that's very customary in the UFC contract. They have the same terms. We have the same terms. We didn't match. Dantas is free to go do his deal with the Series Fighting Championships or whoever it was. I don't remember the name of the organization, but a group that I don't know if they've done any events yet, but they're planning on doing events. Are doing so. We didn't match on his deal. Same situation we were in with the UFC. We made an offer to Mo Lawal. We had to submit it to the UFC. They had already released Mo, and ultimately they didn't match. So very analogous situations. They didn't match with Mo, thank God, because I'm thrilled to have Mo, and we didn't match with Dantas. And Dantas is still our champion. We didn't match with Tyson, and Tyson will now go fight for that organization. So they're similar situations. My focus is pretty hypercentric in terms of what we're doing. That's just part of the game, and
you rather just speak about your organization instead of getting into a back and forth.
Yeah, I don't think it really accomplishes much of anything. The reality is that it's something that we had to go through with the UFC after they released Mo. We had to go through the same process, submitting an offer, waiting over 20 days for them to decide to match or not. They didn't, and we moved on. And we went through the same situation with Tyson. We had a right to match, and somebody submitted an offer, and we decided not to match, and now he can go on. It's a pretty standard part of agreements at our level in an organization like ours or with the UFC. So I don't really understand where all the kind of angst and movement came from, but he's free to go on and do what he's doing, and as is Mo. Thank God he's with us.
And you said recently too, and then there were two, meaning it's Bellator, it's the UFC. You can say you're the number two in the world. You guys are the top two. You started it a long time ago. You put the wheels in motion. So how are you feeling now? About Bellator going into still got to finish out season 7, but you're heading into bigger, brighter things come 2013.
Yep, I'm never satisfied, and haven't really. I'm 46 and I haven't been satisfied yet. So there's still a lot to accomplish. There's a lot of work to be done. We've got to make the shows better. We've got to keep signing world-class talent from every corner of the globe. There's a lot to do. So I'm excited about our partnership with Spike, having grown up in the game, watching Spike Network. Really the first guys who launched it from a general market perspective here, the guys who wrote the book on TV and MMA. That's incredibly exciting for me. So I take great pleasure in being able to kind of sit with you and go, we're moving to Spike in 3 months. Words that if you're in my business and you're forming a mixed martial arts company, and you came up with an idea sitting on your couch in Brentwood many years ago, and you built out a business model, to be able to sit here and talk to you and to say, in 3 months we'll be on Spike, and in 3 months we'll have best of greatest moment shows on Spike, and we're doing a reality show with Spike, that gives me a great deal of pleasure. Because I used to watch Spike religiously in terms of mixed martial arts. That's where we all kind of came, our growth curve happened in watching this game. We started in 2005 and we tracked it. So that's cool. I'm excited about that. But the rest of it, I've got an awful lot of work to do on, and it's just, I'll go back to my room and send emails tonight.
And a couple more things before I let you go and get on, of course, with your life. I know we all thank you. You're always here late, staying late,
sure.
Answering every question we have. As far as the reality show goes, do you know what kind of reality show it's going to be? Could it be like a tough where guys are matched against each other in a house, or are you going to try to take a different spin on it to not be compared as a rip-off
Sure.
kind of thing?
I think what you'll see in our reality show, I can't speak directly to the format, but I think what you'll see in our reality show will be very indicative of what we do as an organization. The likelihood of somebody getting voted back on the island here is very slim. There will be a lot of similarities between what makes Bellator Bellator and the objective nature of it, and what will make our reality show. We're pretty lucky. We got Bertram Van Mooster producing the show. He just won, I think, his 15th Emmy Award for The Amazing Race. He's a wizard in this space. He's the Michael Jordan of reality programming. So we've got the right people on board to develop the characters and tell the stories and keep it much less goofy reality and much more kind of biopic type of documentary in terms of storytelling and development. So I'm excited. I think, you launch something like this and it's new and you never know exactly where it's going to go, but I think the pieces of the puzzle are in place, and more importantly than anything, we got Spike Network and a guy like Bertram working on it with us. We got Sam Kaplan and my talent development team putting all the fighters into it. There's some crazy talented fighters that are going to be in this show, really talented fighters that are going to be in this show, guys that can have an impact in this organization for 5-10 years to come. So, knock on wood.
And will that take place in January, or is that February, March? Is that down the road a little bit?
We'll start going into production at the beginning of the year, and then ultimately look to run it, toward the latter part of spring, summer type of time frame.
And lastly, women's MMA starting to pick up some steam. I know you have Zola Gurgel. She hasn't fought in a while.
Yeah.
She'll be fighting, what is it, 78, 79?
Same show as the semifinals of this, the October show in Dayton.
So you have her back in the mix. You see Invicta is starting to gain steam, and of course
Doing
Ronda
great jobs.
Rousey, who's polarizing the sport. How important is it for you as a promoter to get more of an influx of female talent and start to get more involved with women?
Well, I mean, Michelle put on an incredible
Yeah.
performance. I don't think anybody would have anticipated she was going to come in and win the way she did. And she did. She looked great tonight. Jessica I was sitting in the background, and she's been looking great in the NAAFS and in our organization. Zoila's finally coming back off of the injuries. Jessica Aguilar just had the amazing performance against Megumi not long ago. So we've got the makings of some very strong ladies. Invicta does a great job. I mean, they're putting on some great women's fights, and they're fueling that machine in a really nice way. And of course, Ronda's generating a great deal of buzz about the women's game. So there was an ebb and flow to it when Gina left, and then we had everything happen that happened with Cyborg, and it seems to be back again on the upswing because you got some good momentum moving in the women's game. So we talked about it before. I think 25 is the sweet spot for us in terms of where we'll probably pan out from a women's perspective, and try to get our heads around maybe doing a 25 tournament in the not too distant future.
And lastly, here at Caesars, great partnership you've had with them. When will you be back in Atlantic City? Will you be back for season 7?
We'll be back here December 7th, I believe it is.
And that'll be Zach McCoskey's return to the cage?
Yeah, that's what the plan is right now, yeah.
And how do you feel the partnership forward? You're still going to come back here?
I love to. These guys, I think with this show, we've done more shows with Caesars than with anybody. I think it just jumped ahead of the Hard Rock down in Hollywood, Florida. And we got a great alliance with them. We're going back to do an event with them, I think, in about 5.5 or 6 weeks. But these guys are awesome. They treat us like kings, and it's a great facility, and it's tight. We're packing it all the time, but it's fun, and there's not a bad seat in the house. So it's a great place to do shows.
No, congrats on a great card tonight. Thank you very
Thanks.
much for a few minutes, Bjorn. Appreciate it.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Michael Sets with the Fight Nerds, Bjorn Rebney after Bellator 74.